Not if I had told you. Okay,
So that's
yes,
the thing.
thank you.
We get it.
Hi, how are you?
State federal. We should, that's what we were talking about, we don't submit the report.
She's not coming?
We submit that Perkins defense. Yeah, that's where we're gonna get clarification. And yeah, because I think it would have to be them, because we get the money to the state. Even though it's, yeah, it's kind of tricky.
Well, as long as.
But I mean, it's still. I think it is though, but it goes to each of the states and then the state distributes.
We're going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. It is 5:34.
Your mic.
Oh, oops. It's 5:34, and I'll go ahead and call a roll call. Tita Vela, I'm here. Cari Elizondo is out. Mercurio.
Present?
And Adriana Alexander is out. And let's go ahead and let's get started with it.
You want to recognize our president?
Yes.
Member of the board.
Yes, I'd like to recognize our president, Dr. First Benita Ramirez, and the president of the board, Esteban Rangel.
Thank you.
That's it.
Okay,
All right, let's go ahead and let's get started
item 3.
with item 3. And that is with Cesar Vela.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Ramirez. For the record, Cesar Vela, Vice President of Finance and Administration. The first item on the agenda is the fiscal year 2024 audit. You should have received a copy of the financial report along with the audit communication letter from our auditors. And tonight, we do have our auditor, Mr. Eli Mendoza, partner with Garza Gonzalez and Associates, and he will be providing an update to the board on the 2024 financial report as well as the audit results. I do have a copy of the audit communication letter. Let me-
Okay. We have it. This, yeah, we have
We
it.
have it. Is this it?
And no, this one.
Oh, thank you.
Is it this one?
Yes. This is the original.
Thank you, sir.
So at this time, I'll go ahead and defer to Mr. Mendoza, who will provide the report, the audit report.
Thank you, Mr. Vela, and good afternoon, committee members. My name is Eli Mendoza. I'm a partner with the firm of Garza Gonzalez and Associates. Good to see you all this evening, this afternoon. I would like to provide you with some highlights first of the annual financial report, which is the booklet that you have, and then briefly cover for you the audit communication letter, which includes items that we are required to communicate to you as a committee members. And so, first of all, on the audit report, on page 5 is our independent auditors report, and the opinion paragraph is at the first 2 paragraphs. Essentially, we are rendering a unmodified report, which is a clean opinion. It's really a standard report that is normally issued when there's no issues that auditors encounter in auditing the financial statements. So that is the type of report that you want to have. And it's a 2-page or 3-page letter. It basically discusses what an audit is, the responsibilities of management and the responsibilities of the auditor, and also refers to um, other responsibilities that we have and other reports that we issue. And essentially, we perform the audit in accordance with auditing standards and also governmental auditing standards. And management's responsibility is to prepare the financial statements, and we audit that. And a lengthy discussion on page 6 as to what comprises our responsibilities included. And then we also provide other reports, and I'll highlight those in a bit. But overall, I wanted to cover from page 9 the financial highlights of the audit of the financial statements. So for the year, you had an increase in your net position. Net position means the difference between the assets and the liabilities. So you had an increase in the current year of a little over $29 million, which is positive. And the highlight, the first bullet on that page provides you a more detailed breakdown. You had you have an increase this year of 128.6 million compared to 99 million in the net position. And so that represents an increase of the 29.3 million. And then also ad valorem taxes revenues for the year increased by 7%. And that was an increase of 3 million from 42.9 million to 46 in 24. And then you had an increase also in non-operating revenues, which includes the state appropriations. And you had also a significant increase there, almost 20%, from 90.8 million to 108.8 million. And your capital assets also increased. You continue to invest in that, and you had an increase of 8.8 million. Then I would like to jump over to the back part of the page, back part of the report beginning on page 88.
Page what?
88.
Page 88?
88?
Yes, sir. And this is the schedule of findings and question cost. This is a required section of the report. When you have federal financial assistance,
I don't have it.
and so this is basically a summary of the audit. The first part covers what I've already mentioned, the type of opinion that we have issued, and it's an unmodified opinion. But the other parts are very important too. The internal control over financial reporting, we had no material weaknesses that we identify in the overall financial reporting of the college. And then deficiencies that we consider to be material weaknesses, we had none. And also non-compliance material to the financial statements. If you had laws and regulations as a college that you did not comply with, we would have indicated a yes there, but you had no items of non-compliance. And those are type of laws and regulations such as procurement, investment, Public Funds Investment Act. We would need to report to you any violations there. And then with regards to the federal and state awards, you had no material weaknesses that we identify as in internal control, no significant deficiencies. And then the major program that we audited this year was the Student Financial Aid Assistance Cluster. And we render an unmodified report, also a clean report on that. And then any findings disclosed that are required to be reported, we had none, no findings. Also, we had no question cost. And the state program that we audited was the Texas Education Opportunity Grant. And you are also classified as a low-risk auditee. So the way that that's determined, if you have significant deficiencies that you would not qualify, but since you've had clean reports the last 3 years, you qualify as a low-risk auditee, meaning that there's less of a threshold that we have to audit in your federal financial assistance. So those are my highlights on the financial statements. I realize they're very high-level financial statements. I don't know if have had an opportunity to review the report, or if you have questions, we have Mr. Vela and I, will try to answer those.
If I may, Madam Chair, I have a question. How do we stand when it comes to the fund balance, in the reserves? What is our fund balance in the
Yes,
reserves?
if I may, Cesar Vela, VP of Finance and Administration for the record. Judge Martinez, as of the end of the year 2024, we currently have approximately 20% in reserve. Again, that is the goal that the board has established as part of a resolution that was passed. So we currently, at the end of the fiscal year, we currently have approximately 20% of the current year's budget in reserve.
Thank you. Okay, so that means right now, we stand financially in a very positive
Right.
position.
Okay.
Thank you, go ahead.
Sure.
I'm sorry.
Then next, I would like to cover the audit and communication letter. And as I mentioned, this letter has sections in here that we're required to communicate to you, such as our responsibilities under the standards. And then we have some also highlights of what are the policies, financial disclosures, what are the significant financial statement disclosures, and that's included on page 2 of our letter. And we indicate in there that the disclosures that are significant are the debt, the net pension obligations, net OPIP liabilities that are included. And then we have a listing of what the different estimates, because anytime you do financial statements, you have estimates. And page 3 is if we had difficulties encounter in performing the audit, and we indicate in there that we had no difficulties. The only issue that we encountered was that the audit was somewhat delayed because of the information not being readily available. And there's some detailed information there. Some of the items that are required to be included in the financial statements were really not worked on until after the end of the year, so it kind of delayed. We normally have your presentation in December, but so we experienced those delays. And then also corrected and uncorrected misstatements. We have a listing in there of the different adjustments that we made, and some of them were reclassifications, and we ended up providing some assistance on the statement of cash flows and also the classification of the net assets. So this is just for your information to have. And as far as our recommendations, those are listed beginning on page 5. And a couple of those are dealing with the timing of when those procedures are performed. And the first one deals with new standards that became effective the last couple of years, dealing with leases and subscription-based information technology arrangements. Those are now the last couple of years. Anytime you enter into a long-term contract for leases or for technology-based arrangements, those get presented on the balance sheet. And so, the implementation and the gathering of information is quite elaborate, and it takes a lot of time. And so there were some delays that we experienced there. A lot of those tasks were not completed until after the end of the year. So we're making some recommendations in there to reassess, perhaps do some of those tasks throughout the year, perhaps assign more resources or staff, to those areas. And I think there's been already, Mr. Vela can jump in here and he can tell you what the college is doing.
So, board members, for that recommendation, we are working, we have hired additional personnel to assist in the accounting and property inventory offices. But one of the items that we will be changing this year to be able to have all this information ready before the end of the year is that we are going to tie this portion of the financial statements to the budget. So we're going to be asking departments to provide the information as part of their budget requests. That way, we don't have to be trying to collect this data at the end of the fiscal year. So if these items are not submitted to us during the budget process, they will not be funded for the next fiscal year. So any contract, any contract that is tied to software contracted services, again, we'll have to have a copy both in the department and at the finance office to make sure that we have all these items ready for when the audit comes in.
No, thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Vela, I'm reading this and here on the capital assets portion, I just want to make note that this has, and I don't want to blame anybody, right? But I think it starts off with the board, but this has been an ongoing issue, and we need to fix this. There's no question that I want to say for sure it's been at least 2, maybe 3 years that we've actually faced this, and it's always constantly either whoever we contract or if it's ourselves. But I just feel that this needs to be addressed, years ago. So I don't know what we need to do, but it's the way that I see it. And I just asked Dr. Ramirez if this affects our bond or anything, and she said it doesn't.
No, it.
So,
wouldn't.
but still, it's kind of like a little red tag that I personally, I know I brought it up before, but we need to fix this and we need to pretty much get this done and not continue having this report and still, having these things pop out. So I hope that, staff takes this into consideration and making adjustments that need to be made, because this needs to stop and not be in our reports at an annual basis.
Yes, sir. And we had that discussion earlier during the day with the auditor, and we've had it within our division. And not to make any excuses, but the way we're addressing this item, we did have a turnover in the property inventory. We lost 2 of our employees last year. We also were in the middle of the banner conversion, so that took some time off some of the key personnel to address this item. Just to give you an update of what we have done to address some of these things. Last year's or 2 years ago, the auditors recommended that we conduct a full inventory of both campuses, and
Yes.
the recommendation is that they be done at least every 2 years. We did that. We've contracted service out, and we have completed a full inventory. Right now, what has not happened, and I do agree with your comment, is the reconciliation process. And so that is the only thing that's pending right now. We have hired 1 accountant already that came in on board just about 2 weeks ago. And the primary responsibility of that position will be to work with property inventory on the recording of all capital assets, and also with physical plan to make sure that all the construction projects and everything that's being handled through that office is properly reconciled.
Would
So-
you happen to have a number or a percentage of what is our capital assets? Where are we percentage-wise? Do you have a number for that? Like, are we at 95% that has been tagged and has been identified? Or would you happen to have a number? Or are
So
we,
the issue is not the tagging part. Those items have been, as they're being acquired, they get tagged. It's, and they get inventory.
Mhm.
What hasn't happened is, one was the inventory, to make sure that we do an inventory of both campuses and determine if we have items missing or items that we might have found that are not on our records.
Mhm.
And all that has been completed. What has not been completed is the reconciliation process of now reviewing what's on the system on our records to what the inventory revealed.
to give us that number?
Yes, but as far as the tagging, all the items as they're acquired, they get tagged. They do get
Or
inventory.
what percentage do we have?
Everything above a certain price gets.
Has to be taxed.
Yeah, but my question is, can you give the board a percentage of how much we have to checks and balances of purchase orders and what we've actually, have tagged? Like, what percentage are we at?
So I would.
Which is the reconciliation which you don't have. So
Well,
when do you,
No, that's not.
No, there's two things. So the tagging part, I would venture to say we tag 100% of the items that are purchased.
Mhm.
What we're pending to do is, out of those items that were put into service, and let's say within a year, 2 years, or we've had them for 5 years, is when we did the physical inventory, are they still here? Are they broke? That reconciliation process hasn't happened. So we did the inventory and we have a report of the items that we have. It's just now, okay, well, these are all the items that we have tagged. These are the items that were found. What is missing if we have, so that's what's
That's the
pending.
part that's
So if you
missing.
were to ask me right now, how much out of the inventory that was done, what is missing, that's what I don't have right now.
and by when do you foresee having that information to
Our
the
target
board?
is to have it, and we just talked about it, our target is not to have a repeat finding on this one item at the next audit.
Hmm.
So again, the big part was doing the inventory, that has been completed, and now it's getting the reconciliation completed.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I have a concern here with an item that you added to your opinion.
Okay.
And that is, in our judgment, there are conditions or events considered in the aggregate that raise substantial doubt about the college's ability to continue as a going concern for a reasonable period of time.
What page are you on, sir?
This
6.
is on page
6.
6.
It's the last little bullet point.
Is it on the book?
Yeah, in the book.
One of the responsibilities that we have is to determine if there is a concern, a going concern. You don't have a going concern, but we would be required to inform you if you had, but I'm not sure exactly what you're reading.
It's on the
The
capital
last
assets.
bullet.
The last,
The
Bulletin?
best-
Are you talking about our opinion on
whether
the,
in our judgment.
what page are we on?
6
Page 6?
of the booklet.
Of the handout or?
Yeah, of the booklet,
In the book,
Booklet.
the booklet.
this book.
Oh.
Is it at the last bullet that's listed?
Yes.
Okay, so if you read the top part, before the bullets, it says, in performing the audit in accordance with generally accepted accounting standards, we are required to conclude whether, in our judgment, there are conditions. So that's one of our responsibilities. Like let's say the college was
No,
going
it's
broke,
not.
and we thought that you could not be in business for another year, then we would be required to tell you that. But, there's no, and that would have been listed in here, like, hey, in the current year, we've noticed that funds are really down, but it's not really saying that we think that you don't have the ability. It's saying we're required to conclude whether, in our judgment, there are conditions or event considered in the aggregate that raise substantial doubt. So it's not saying that we have concluded, but it's our responsibility to tell you whether you had that condition, and you don't have that condition.
We don't
As
have
a
that.
matter of fact, you're better off than last year by almost over $29 million.
That's the reason why I make that
Yes.
observation.
Yes.
You out here, you qualify it, all right?
No, it's not qualifying.
Well, that's the way I read it.
No, sir, that's not correct.
No,
But-
okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
No, we would have a big old paragraph and
Yeah.
you wouldn't be getting an unmodified report.
So if I may just clarify for
Yes.
myself. So these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bullets on page
Yes.
6,
Mhm.
these are your roles and responsibilities
ma'am.
as outlined
Correct.
by the
Professional
government?
standards.
Okay, so not that that's what you're finding us?
No.
Correct.
Okay, all
Correct.
right,
It's explaining
Yeah,
what
it
our
says it right up
responsibilities
at the
Okay.
are.
top. It says
Yes,
auditor's responsibility.
yes. You know, and our letter here has gotten longer and longer, and
Yeah.
some, we're trying to explain to people what an auditor does, or what an audit is. And in an effort to do that, sometimes we cause more confusion. But that's not the intent. Okay, any other questions? We do have a couple of other minor issues there, things that were not fully, like the purchase order, I guess a couple of minor items dealing with purchase orders, and then
Okay.
also some items on accounts payable. But overall, I do agree the issue with the capital assets, the inventory, there's a lot of work that goes into that, and you have had quite a bit of new equipment that you've acquired the last few years. And I guess from what I'm hearing from Mr. Vela, now you have the staffing that's required. There may be a need for training as to how to more efficiently perform those tasks that are being done, so that they can actually be accomplished within the timeline, because that's something that we've discussed with Mr. Vela. So perhaps that's an area that can be addressed. If there's no other questions, that will conclude my presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so
Any
much.
questions from anybody?
Any questions?
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.
We'll go on to number 4, the November 2024 financial report by Cesar and Mr. Richard Long.
So, board members, good evening again. Cesar Vela, VP of Finance and Administration for the record. I do want to make a correction to the wording on the agenda. It's the November 2024 investment report, and I do apologize for that. And we do have Mr. Richard Long that's joining our meeting via Zoom. He is from Valley View Consulting, and this is the consultant that we hired to monitor and make recommendations regarding our investments. He will be presenting the information for the November 2024 quarterly investment report. This report needs to be approved at the next board meeting. So with that, I'll go ahead and defer to Mr. Long to provide the information on the investments as of November 2024, and also give you an update on current market conditions. Mr. Long?
Right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for letting me attend virtually. I think that you're getting used to our format, but the first page has 2 important things on it. The first is the sentence right in the middle, that the portfolio of the college is in compliance with the Public Funds Investment Act and your adopted investment policy. And then it's got a signature line for Mr. Vela and Ms. Gomez as the authorized investment officers by the board. So they have to commit that yes, they believe that you are in compliance with the rules. The next page is just a summary that does a quarter by quarter look back. August 31, obviously, was your fiscal year end. Now we're up to November, the first quarter. Not much change, almost 123 million at the end of August, and a little bit over 121 million and a half at the end of November. Average yield on the portfolio is about a 4.20, and we'll get into that in a little bit more detail. On the positive side, if you look towards down the center in the middle, you've earned a little bit over 1.3 million already for this fiscal year. Lots of things going on in the market right now. Since November, the Fed has met, and they did lower the target for the Fed funds rate 1 more time. So that current range is between 4.25% and 4.5%. The original expectation earlier in the fall was that through calendar year 25, they would reduce rates several more times. That's changed a little bit. The economic data, including the employment data, has continued to be a little stronger than expected. That's on the positive side. GDP came in at third quarter on their final number, a little bit over 3%, and that was a very positive number. Stock market, S&P is still trading over 6,000, so that's a positive number. The slight negative number is that inflation still remains higher than the target. So the Fed is watching meeting by meeting. They actually met today and they're going to meet tomorrow, but it's not expected that they're going to change the Fed funds target at this point. There right now is anticipated in the market that maybe later in the spring, early summer, they could reduce rates one more time, and then maybe again in the fall. But the probabilities of that have all been declining slightly. From a portfolio standpoint, from a holding standpoint, you can see the top third are all your cash equivalents, the investment options where Mr. Vela and Ms. Gomez can access cash on any day. They can put money in or take money out without any risk to principal. On the bottom half is all the CDs that the college has invested in, primarily to lock in rates prior to them falling, and now in an attempt to hedge against rates falling any further. You see the average yield on the cash portion was about a 3.90, and the average yield on the CDs was about a 4.80. So again, the hedge has worked very well for the college. A couple of charts and graphs, so you can see green side cash, you're still about 2/3. On the CD side or securities, if you got to that point, you're about 1/3. So we're gradually working our way. It'd be nice to get up to 50-50, maybe even a little more like 60-40 of securities and CDs versus cash, but it's important for the college to work their way into it. And you can see from a total portfolio standpoint, as expected, you peak early calendar year, and then you gradually decline through your spending cycle. The book value comparison is again required by the Act, and so it takes the August 31 data and compares it to the November data. And you can see a big change in the very top line. The Falcon Bank MMA is a money market account. It's only paying you about a $360, so there were better choices. And so you took about $20 million out of Falcon, and as you look down through the rest of the increases, you can see you did CDs at Southside Bank, you did CDs at East West Bank, Bank OZK. So again, we've primarily been picking up yield by doing bank CDs. All these CDs are either insured by the FDIC or they're collateralized by marketable securities, or in some cases, the Federal Home Loan Bank has issued a letter of credit on behalf of the college to protect any risk of default by the bank in either the principal or the interest. You're also required to receive information based on your fund balances. You can see that most of your portfolio is the center column, the current operating funds at the end of November, about 86 million. You've got, talked earlier, I think, about restricted funds. You got about 20 million, about 5 million in endowment funds, and then about 10 million in bond or construction funds. Then another requirement is to compare that to last quarter, about the same. Operating was about 90 million, restricted was about 14 million, endowment was a little less than 5 million, and bond funds were a little less than 12 million. And that was a quick overview. I'd be glad to answer any questions or get into any more detail that you'd like.
Yeah, anybody have any questions? No? Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, let's go into item number 5, authorization for entering into a contractual agreement with retail electricity provider.
Yes, board members, this next item is we are going to be requesting that the board approve the college president or authorize the college president to enter into an energy contract with the lowest energy price provider as recommended by Marco A. Arredondo, Inc., energy consultant that was hired by the college for a term up to 10 years as approved by the board. We issued out a request for proposals for electricity energy contracts. We have received 3 proposals. Those proposals have been tabulated by Mr. Arredondo and his staff based on the criteria that you see on your agenda item. They are currently monitoring the rates. Our contract ends at the end, our current electricity contract ends at the end of February of 2025. And what we are asking again is that the board allow the college president to negotiate a contract based on the recommendations by Marco Arredondo Inc. They're currently monitoring and will continue to monitoring the rates until that the end of the contract. And we do have tonight Mr. David Cartwell. He's the area representative for Marco Arredondo Inc. And he can provide a little bit more information and detail on regarding the process and some of the proposals that we received. And also, it is my understanding that he also has already some refreshed prices for us to review. So at this time, I'm going to ask Mr. Cartwell if he can come by and provide an update to the committee on the current process.
Thank you, Mr. Vela. Good evening, Madam Chair Vela,
Good evening.
Board President Rangel, and Member Judge Martinez, and greetings to the Laredo College President, Dr. Manita Ramirez. For the record, my name is David Cardwell, and I'm here this evening on behalf of Marco A. Arredondo, Inc., representing him. He could not be here this evening, but he will be present Thursday at the full board meeting. What I would like to do is share a few things about how we got to this point from 2010, if y'all would allow me to share some things with you about the work that we've done here at the college. And then I'll go right into the spreadsheet so we can look at that and the refreshed prices, if that's okay with y'all.
Yes.
We started working with Laredo College in 2010. And back when we started working then, we got some prices to offer a proposal to the college. And at that time, the college had a contract with GLO at 7.025 cents per kilowatt hour. In 2010, we procured an energy contract for 5 years at 6.585 cents per kilowatt hour. At the end of that contract, we renewed the contract in 2015 for another 5 years at 4.473 cents per kilowatt hour. We continued to monitor the energy market and found the best time to renew the energy contract was at the tail end of the contract in 2020, 5 years ago, for the contract you have today. And that contract was signed for 5 years at 4.389 cents a kilowatt hour. The entire state has been on track to prepare and sign contracts at prices below 4 cents per kilowatt hour when the big freeze of 2020, 2021, we all remember, came through. And when that happened, prices jumped through the sky. They went up to 10 cents, 14 cents a kilowatt hour of energy. And even several retail electric providers went out of business at that cold freeze that we had and afterwards. We've been tracking the contract renewal prices and they have come down, but being driven back up by the lack of base load plants that have replaced the solar panels and wind turbines. The state base load power plant fossil fuel reserves are now close to 20%, leaving the state very vulnerable to weather extremes and possible blackouts. And you can read about that and you'll hear about that from ERCOT from time to time in the winter season and the hot summer season. The record growth of manufacturing plants, data centers, and Bitcoin mining operations in Texas has worsened the situation because they will come in, build in your community or in Texas, and they consume an enormous amount, a lot of energy. The state has created a fund to incentivize the building of fossil fuel power plants, including nuclear, over the next several years to increase our power plant base load. However, it will take time to build these power plants that they are planning and others are planning to build. In our day-to-day world in purchasing items, as we all drive down the street and look at the gas prices and then look at the grocery store, a lot of people ask the question, will prices ever go down? Most people will say no. I'm one of them that says that. However, even though you have a fixed energy prices before you today, and I have refreshed energy prices to present to you, for historical purpose, I want to share with you that 90%, if not 100% of the prices I'm offering you this evening on the spreadsheet for our discussion is lower than the fixed price energy back in 2010 that we had for 5 years and the 7 cents that you had before that. So I see the cycle going up and down, but now I see the urgency of the state acting, and we've got to do something about the natural gas power plants, nuclear power plants, supported by, I'll say it this way, maybe not reliable, but supported by solar and wind. Our last government clients have elected to go for 10-year contracts to ensure budget security until some power plants are built. We look at the bids and recommend the most appropriate item. With the current energy quotes, we would be recommending an 8 or a 10-year contract. Once we get updated quotes, we may change our recommendation. We will also be looking at a 10% add or delete to see if that's something that might benefit the college. It may or may not, but we can discuss that. Our recommendation is just like Mr. Vela stated a few minutes ago, looking under the agenda item 9C, that we would recommend that the college president or her designated appointee be authorized to enter into an energy contract with the lowest energy price provider recommended by Marco A. Arredondo, Inc., for a term up to 10 years as approved by the board. That gives the president or her appointee and Mr. Arredondo to work with the companies that submitted the bids to come up with the best contract for the college. It will not be done Thursday night, but the board will act on that. Then they will go to work and try to find the best contract possible for the college. What we can do now is we can look at the price quotes that you have in front of you and I do have refreshed price quotes with me that I can hand out. What I can share with you, and that's up to you if you would like to look at them. If not, I will leave them behind because we will either take the same ones or refresh prices to the board Thursday evening. What I can tell you before we start is that I've already looked at the refreshed prices, and every price on that spreadsheet is a little bit below your current rate. The one that you have in front of you now, I would say 99% of them, all of them, but one is below the current rate you have today. Not much, but it is a savings. It is below that. So what we can do now, and I will leave that up to the committee's choice, I can explain what the spreadsheet is that's in front of you because you might want to know what each line means or something, or I can give you the refresh ones and we can do the same. I'll leave it up to the committee.
Refresh. Pardon me?
He's asking if you want the latest numbers that came out.
It would be nice
Okay, very good.
if you have them, yes. Thank you. So, thank you.
Oh, good. Maybe I can see that one. The other one's tiny.
This is practically the same as the one that was sent to you with exception of the date. You will see this one is dated the January the 27th, and the prices are a little bit lower than the one that you have that's in front of you now. And what I can do is just touch on a couple of things here, and then we'll just open it up, or feel free to ask me a question anytime that I'm walking you through this spreadsheet. You will notice up in that upper left little block there, meter count. You have 44 meter accounts on the both campuses, North and South Campus.
That includes both camp.
Pardon?
That includes both campuses.
That's both of them
Yes.
together.
Thank you.
All right, that's 44. In the past 12 months, both campuses have consumed 23,585,379 kilowatt hours. Your current provider is MP2 Energy. And right below that, as we look at the wide spreadsheet there,
Mhm.
it says under the product, then next to the right of it, it says REP, Retail Electric Provider.
Right.
What we've done here is 3 retail electric providers provided bids. And at this point, before the board meeting, for the fairness to the ones that bid, we do not disclose their names. So we call them Rep 1, Rep 2, and Rep 3. All right, and so you can see there, Rep 1, we got a line there. That's their bids across those terms and what terms they would offer at those prices. Now, remember, as we talk about this, kilowatt hours, and I say energy, consumed energy, think of that as the same thing. The only thing that the college or any customer can do is contract the energy portion of your usage. The AEP wires trans-through, they're regulated by the Public Utility Commission, and you cannot contract that. And that can change if PUC approves them to change. So, and we can look at that also as we go through that. Now, there's Rep 1, and then there's 2 lines under Rep 2, and 1 line under Rep 3, and prices going across. So let me just touch base on the Rep 2 line says 10% add or delete to the left of one of the Rep 2s. What this means is this. Usually when we do a 10% add or delete to a contract, and this is going to be up to the college, if you think that you're going to build a major building or take a major building count off of the system, then you're going to want this added to the contract. Otherwise, you might come up with some penalties. Okay? All right. So if you're not going to, within whatever term that you're going to sign, you're not going to install this major, a lot of energy that it's going to consume. You may not want to do that because it is just a little bit higher than the regular contract without this. And that can be talked about after you all make your motion to the college president or the designee to work and come up with that contract. So I want you to know that. Now, we hope that when we get to that point, that Rep 1 and Rep 3, which we would suspect, can come up with a 10% add or delete, but that will be at later. When you look down into that block, all the way across, and then you look vertical in the blocks, it will take you down there and it will show you the energy price. It'll show you the AEP estimated pass-through price.
Go ahead.
Okay, it will then tell you the AEP price. Of course, sales tax is 0. Then you've got gross receipts, very small amount. Public Utility Commission, small amount. Then there's your estimated kilowatt hours. And then the line that you want to look at is estimated annual cost. Your estimated annual cost for the past 12 months has been $1,846,590.16. That's an estimate, but that's what it sort of looked like, and you're probably very close to that in your budget. All right, then as you look to the right of that same line, those would be the estimated cost of whatever column you picked and whatever price was in that column. And then, of course, below that would be the additional cost that you would be looking at, because this is here, and it needs to be this way for transparency, because when you start making your budgets, going forward, whatever you do, here's some numbers you can plug into the budget that helps you with your budget.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
yes, may I ask a
Esteban.
question? Thank you. I have a couple questions, but so this is very interesting, the one that you said on Rep 2, the 10%.
Yes.
Add or delete.
Mhm.
In your opinion, I got two questions on that. In your opinion, what would be a good percentage, or what would be a good percentage of square footage of, like you said, if we would want to build a building, what is a good square footage percentage to be able to have that caveat?
I would probably answer it like this. Take one of your large buildings that you have now and look at that.
So any large building.
I would say medium to large, nothing below medium to large, because what they do is when you get a contract like this, they purchase, it's like a commodity on the stock market. They purchase the futures of the natural gas or whatever's producing that energy, and they're locking themselves in for that. And if we come along and we say we're going to add this huge building or take it off, one way or the other, we're going to want service from them.
It makes sense.
So it will make an impact. Go ahead.
The other question that I have is I'm seeing that in Rep 1, Rep 2, is that a
Rep 1
typo?
and 3 did not.
1 and 3 did not add the 10%. Is that something that we can ask our president
Yes.
to be able to negotiate that?
Yes, we have asked for them to add it. So when it gets down to the president or the designee, when they get down to talking and negotiating, we want to make sure we're apples to apples, not apples and oranges.
So then 1 and 3, if they decide to add it, then the
Yeah, then we would,
equation would change somewhat if we would want.
well,
that
then
to-
we would have 6 lines there.
Of course.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's
Yeah.
good questions.
If I may, the 10% add or delete, yes, when you add a building, obviously the square footage is important, but this also applies to adding equipment. For example, we add another chiller.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, that's correct.
Then you have to have this to safeguard of us not
Yeah.
getting penalized.
It would have an
Yeah, so it's
impact
not
on-
just
Yeah.
on the-
On the-
specifically
on
a
the-
building.
power.
It could be that, you know what, we need to add another chiller, then this ad will let us do that without a penalty.
Thank you, Mr. Vela. One more thing that since President Rangel was talking about that, now go over to bandwidth. There's a bandwidth there. One has 25%, the other ones have 100%. What this is existing accounts consuming energy. So if you had a building and you did do something at that building, install larger units, and the energy went up, you've got a bandwidth where you can increase the load, you can decrease the load, and there's no penalties because it's an existing account. So we like the 100% bandwidth, and so if it happened to go with a 25%, as one of them has it, we would definitely want the president or the designee and Mr. Markle to work with them, because we want to make sure that you might have a building, you're not adding a new account, but you say, hey, wait a minute, I'm going to add load in that building. It's an existing meter, existing service, or I'm going to reduce half of that load in that building, but keep the account. So all of that discussions can come up. That's good. Good points.
I have a question. Yes.
Okay.
Dr.
So, David, you said currently we're paying 4.389 cents per kilowatt, right?
That is correct. Energy, yes.
In energy, right?
Yes.
And so now all of these are 0.6.
That is correct.
Am I missing something? Is this higher? Like 2
Yes.
cents higher?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
So
Yes,
it's
it
not
is.
lower.
No.
No,
No.
if I may, I would like to,
Go ahead.
sorry, I would like to clarify. I think what Mr. Cartwell meant was that the refresh rates are lower than the initial
Big
proposals, yes. But we are seeing an increase on the current,
on the current.
on the current rate. So
Right.
from the current contract, we are looking at about 2 cents per kilowatt increase. Now, the refresh quotes that came in are lower than the initial proposals.
And just, thank you, Mr. Vela, and just to add to that, about the middle of it, when I mentioned something about for historical purposes, and that was just for your information, the rate you're getting now is lower than what you had from 2010 to 2015. So in other words, what could we buy at a grocery store in 2010 and what would prices be today? But good question, Dr. Ramirez. Any other
Interesting.
questions?
No, I don't
Well,
have any. Does
Mr.
anybody have any?
Arredondo will be here Thursday evening.
Okay.
And I think the way that Mr. Vela explained it about the motion, that you give the president of the
Exactly,
college
the
or her
authority.
designee to work with
To
Mr.
work
Marco.
with-
And the way it was explained to me, Madam Chair, is that because there's so much fluctuation right now in the
in-
pricing, you
Right.
can't really lock it in until we
No.
sign.
Exactly.
And so
correct.
that's why we can make a decision,
Yeah.
but then what if it
Oh.
changes and we don't lock in until Monday? And so the idea is to do
give-
it all
That's
in one
correct.
day.
Do we need to take a vote on this?
No. We
No.
will at the main,
At the
at
main-
At the- yeah,
main
on Thursday.
meeting?
At the,
Okay.
Thank you.
would,
Thank you, David.
would this run through a consent? Or not?
I think it is on consent, isn't it?
It is, right?
Yes, it is.
This
a
item
It
is
is
on
on
consent.
consent, okay. Okay, yes, Rusty,
Yes, Ms. Bell, I think that if the consent, and depending on how the item reads, if you're wanting to give the president the authority to negotiate the contract, if
That's
the
what it says.
item, and I don't remember exactly how it reads, but if it doesn't,
Authorization.
if it recommends that, I think you can leave it in consent. Yes.
okay. All right, let's go move on to number 6, item number 6, which is the approval to extend building lease agreement with Gateway Community Health Center for the South Campus of Health Science Clinics. Mr. Vela.
So, members of the board, this next item is, we are asking that the board approve the college president to negotiate a new building lease agreement or an extension to the current
the
agreement with Gateway Community Health Center for the South Campus College of Health Sciences Clinic. Both Gateway and the college have expressed interest in continue the partnership. The current agreement expired on December 31st, 2024. We have been approached by Mr. Lopez from Gateway Clinic
Right.
on a request to extend the lease. We have been negotiating the new rate. They have requested, if possible, to do
Madam
a
Chair,
reduction on the
I'll make a
lease.
motion that we formally approve that.
No, we can't do that right now.
We cannot move it?
No,
No, this is,
No.
this item,
it'll
No,
be
no,
in the
not until
consent,
regular board meeting.
and it's in the consent,
Okay.
so
so
it would
we're,
be approved.
yeah, so we're currently working, and we do have, we have ran numbers regarding their request to have a lower monthly lease rate. Unfortunately, we could not agree to their request, but they have agreed to come to a 20% reduction on the rate with the understanding that the services that they provide to our students will remain at the same levels. So they have right now tentatively agreed because Mr. Lopez presented this item
Right.
also to his board tonight to maintain the rates for both the dental and medical services to our students. And again, this would be through the term of the agreement, which is 5 years, another 5 years.
Okay. And basically, we're just giving Dr. Ramirez the authority
To negotiate the
Yeah.
final terms.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
um,
Esteban.
thank you. And I like the fact that you stated, Mr. Vela, that the rates will stay. So, and just for the record, the decrease that we are or not the decrease, but the new rate that that will be negotiated, just for the record, we we, the college, is still, I guess what I'm trying to say is we're not going to lose any money,
No.
correct?
That is correct. So.
We will still be all right with at least the M&O and everything, correct?
Yes.
That is
Yeah.
correct, Mr. Angela. Actually, the revised or the reduced rate will cover all the costs for the college for the building. In addition, we'll provide additional revenue to cover health services for our students. So
So it'll be able to be covered, like Dr. Ramirez said,
Yes.
the payment for the bond will be able to.
yes,
Be covered.
not just the payment of the bond, but also utilities and maintenance costs that are associated with the clinic itself.
I just wanted to put that on record. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. All right, let's go on to number 7. Does anybody have any questions on number 6?
No, ma'am.
Let's go on to number 7, the approval for the purchase of equipment for the truck driving program. Mr. Vela?
I'm sorry. This is, again, we are asking that the board approve the purchase of 2 forklifts for equipment from Equipment Depot in the amount of $78,782.41.
70?
$78,782.41. And this is from Equipment Depot, and we are requesting for the purchase of 2 forklifts. And this is for the Continuing Education Department forklifts certification program. One of the forklifts is a stand-up reach forklift, and the other one is a 3,500-pound capacity cushion tire lift truck. The purchase is being made using the Sourcewell contract number 4895-053024. The budget or the funding for these items are on the 2025 fiscal year 2025 general operating budget under the continuing education equipment line item.
Perfect. Any questions?
No, ma'am.
All right, then the next one is number 8,
Yes,
the approval.
yes, board members, for this next item, I do want to make a note. We're asking for the approval to purchase 5, not 2, ultrasound machines. And these are actually machines that will replace existing equipment and the diagnostic medical sonography program. The equipment is being purchased from Henry's Shine Medical, and the total amount is $126,611 and 11 cents. We are trading in the current machines, and we're getting a credit of 27,000 for those machines. The purchase is being made under buy board contract number 610-20.
Perfect. All right. Any questions? Comments? Okay, let's go on to number 9, the approval for the purchase of equipment for the diagnostic imaging program. No? Oh,
9G.
wait, I have it as number 10. I have that as number 10. Okay, mine says, it's number 10. All right, the approval for the purchase of technical moving structure for the police academy.
Yes, members of the board, we're asking for approval for the purchase of tactical moving structure from Mobile Police Training Structures and the amount of $125,245. These structures will be utilized at the Congressman Henry Cuellar Protected Services by the Police Academy. The pricing is based on USD direct pricing for 100 panels. And there is a quote attached to the agenda item with pictures of the structures.
Yeah.
And again, this will be used for training by the Police Academy. We did issue out a request for proposals in January. Unfortunately, we did not receive bids. We did contact one of the vendors that had provided an initial quote. They went ahead and honored the quote price even after we had issued an RFP. We also contacted a vendor through one of the cooperatives. Unfortunately, that pricing was a little bit higher than the recommended vendor. So again, we are recommending that the approval for the purchase be made from police training structures in the amount of 125,245. The funds for this purchase are currently in the fiscal year 2025 Police Academy equipment line item budget. So they have been budgeted as part of the 2025 budget.
Okay, the next item is item number 10. Is it a 10 or 11? I'm all messed up.
Item 10.
I'm using the one that they emailed way back when. The approval of the purchase for networking equipment for building P28.
Good evening, Chair and
Good.
members of the Finance and Audit Committee. Albert Chavez, Associate VP of Information Technology. For this particular item, we're requesting that the board approves the purchase of equipment for Building P28 that will house the LCTV Studio Productions Department. This equipment will be networking equipment and services to install data drops for that building. The total amount for this order is $54,756. This particular building, P28, is the first building that you see as you come down from the
Yes.
overpass. On the right side, it was previously used by DPS, so it did not have any technology from the college. So the building is being retrofitted to house the LCTV Studio Productions Department. So we're needing to purchase networking equipment and the installation of data drops to service the operations for that
It's a
department.
little bitty house.
Yes, yes.
It was a
For this
guardhouse.
particular purchase, the proposed vendor is Computer Solutions, and the quote that was received is using a DIR contract, DIR CPO 5346. And for the cost, for the equipment and services, it is proposed to use deferred maintenance funds.
Perfect. Thank you. Any questions? Number 11, the approval of renewal for the DIR contract with SQL Data Systems for cloud backup service.
Good evening, Chair and members of the Finance Committee. For this particular item, we're requesting approval for the annual renewal of our existing cloud backup and disaster recovery service in the amount of $87,212.40. For this renewal, the proposed vendor is SQL Data Systems, and the quote was provided using a DIR contract, DIR TSO 4299. Again, this is a renewal of an existing service that was first procured last year. So this is our second year renewal. And this provides cloud disaster recovery for our data center. So basically our backups and are published to the cloud for business continuity purposes. And again, this is in the IT department budget. And the amount again is $87,212.40.
Thank you. Any questions? All right, the next one is item number 12. The approval for classroom technology refresh for the HR building.
Good evening again, Chair and members of the Finance and Audit Committee. For this particular item, we're requesting approval to purchase for the purchase of audiovisual equipment and services for a classroom technology refresh for the HR building in the amount $216,104.00. Proposed vendor for this project is Audiovisual Aids, and the quote that was submitted by them was using Buy Board Cooperative Purchase Agreement 739-24. So there are 17 classrooms in this building that will receive new equipment. Our team met with the chair for that particular area to assess the needs. And for this particular project, for these classrooms, there'll be installation of electronic drop-down screens and projectors and new control system and speakers for those classrooms.
12, right, yeah.
And again, the cost is 216,104 with 0 cents. And this will be using procured using a line item under the media center department that's in our
Okay.
current budget.
All right, any questions? Okay, let's go on to number 13. Yes, item 13. The approval of budgeted cash matching funds required for grant application to be submitted on behalf of Laredo College by the Grants Department. It's a 2025 to 2026 Texas Workforce Commission Jobs and Education for Texas, the JET, grant application for $350,000 in equipment funding and software for Laredo College truck driving program, $17,500 in cash match funds over a year grant performance period.
Thank you, Madam
Mr.
Chair,
Lozano.
members of the board, Dr. Ramirez, Gabriel Lozano, Director of Grants for the record. This request basically is for what's called the JET grant. It's Jobs and Education for Texans program that we have been very successful with. We've gotten about 10 of them in the past 10 years. There's 2 rounds of funding every biennium, state biennium. So this is for that. It requires 5% matching, cash matching. It's a non-negotiable. It can't be in kind. It has to be cash. So that's what basically this request is for. So they fund 95% of the cost, and we fund 5%.
5%.
And we're gonna request, I believe, 2. Well, we already did planned 2 simulators for the South Campus for the truck driving
Right.
program, and currently there's 3. So we're going to expand the capacity to 5
2 more.
to meet the demand. And this field fits perfectly with a high demand occupation
With
list that the
occupation.
state has. So that's what this request is for.
Perfect. Any questions? All right, not a problem. Then we go on to 14. 14 is a resolution requesting that the Laredo College Board of Trustees approve the submission for grant application by the Laredo College Grant Office to the State of Texas Office of the Governor, Public Safety Office for 2024-2025 Operation Stone Garden Project for a total of $78,300 in funding.
Yes, ma'am. So this program is actually a new grant program that the college has joined. The process started, I believe, in March of 2023. The police department and the college were approached by the Border Patrol. And this funding has been around. The sheriff's office started receiving it back in 2008. This is mandated funding from the Department of Homeland Security. So it's only for border law enforcement agencies. And we're finally getting our foot in the door, which we're very excited about because this is an annual grant fund. So we already got in for this first year, and next year we're going to be part of the group. So basically it entails all the constables' offices, the sheriff's office, and the Border Patrol. And it's to help, which is perfect for our situation here on the border, to help tighten security over time. You know, and the officers, our officers are helping the federal government, the state governments to enforce the laws here on our campus.
Any questions?
So that amount, 78,300, is going to be probably more next year. Well, as the years go along. So we asked for way more. We asked for and I kind of said, because we got in and then they said, you've been awarded, but we didn't. I confused the amount because we asked for like $1 million. So they
all they can
they
say
gave
is
us.
no. All they can say is no. They say no, we go left.
That's what I tell Mr. Lozano all
Yeah.
the time. Just ask.
Just
Ask for
ask.
the moon and the stars.
That's
All
right.
they
We
can
got
tell
our-
you is
We
no.
got our foot in the door. Hopefully next year it'll be double or more.
Good. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. And the last item is 15, and that's approval of a donor request endowment matching funds.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the Finance and Audit Committee, Board President Rangel, Dr. Ramirez, administration guests. My name is Tiana Ortiz, Vice President of Institutional Advancement. Today I come before you requesting approval for a donor requested endowment match of $25,000 that was requested by Ms. Evelyn Summers to be added to the Carol E. Summers, Mr. South Texas LC Nursing Endowment. In 2023, this endowment was started with $25,000 by the children of Mr. Carol Summers, Robert and Shelley. And it was set to help the pathways of nursing students from LVNs, ADNs to BSNs. At the time, in 2023, we matched the funds, and it was approved by the board in January 31st of 2023. Since then, some friends of Mr. Carol Summers during this, Mr. South Texas added an additional $50,000, and the family has continued to add annually to this fund. As of January 20th, 2025, the endowment balance is $226,000.
Wow.
Excellent.
We are asking that the board approve an additional match of $25,000 to continue to leverage the growth of this fund. We will be making those funds available through the Restricted Scholarship Fund 280001, a non-general operating fund, and it would be deposited into the Carol Summers, Mr. South Texas Nursing Endowment, 610039.
Very good.
We do have the
Very,
funding
very
for
good.
that.
Yes. Not bad. I think that concludes our meeting. Any comments from anybody else? Anybody have
Chair,
anything?
make a
Pardon me?
motion that we adjourn.
Now, yes, the motion is there. I guess you make it, I second it. Yeah, it's just, we'll adjourn, I guess, till next
Thank you very
month.
much.
We'll see you Thursday.
No, ma'am, we have tomorrow.